4 years ago, Kaleb Cooper was paying himself 50 pence an hour. Not 50 pence a day, 50 pence an hour, from his own business. Today, he's just boarded a plane for the first time in his life. Not for a holiday, not because a mate convinced him to go and sit on a beach, but because Amazon Prime Video is paying him to fly to Australia and front his own 4-part series under his own name, with no Jeremy Clarkson anywhere near it. That jump, 50 pence an hour to solo Amazon presenter in just 4 years, is one of the most extraordinary commercial stories to come out of British farming in a generation. And almost nobody has taken the time to break down how it really happened. If you're interested in how ordinary people build leverage against platforms that are supposed to own them, stick with this all the way through and tap subscribe now so you don't miss the follow-up investigation we're already planning off the back of this story. The public version of this tale is simple and wrong. Most people think it goes like this. Kaleb Cooper turns up on Clarkson's farm as a young lad who knows about tractors. He's funny. He makes people laugh. He becomes a fan favorite. One thing leads to another, and suddenly he's famous. That story makes it sound accidental, like he just happened to be standing in the right field on the right day when the cameras arrived, and everything else was luck. Here's what actually happened. Kaleb was born in Chipping Norton in 1998. There was no farming dynasty behind him, no inherited land, no big estate waiting for him to take over. At 13, he started rearing hens and selling their eggs locally. By the time he was supposed to be focusing on his GCSEs, those hens weren't just a side hustle. He was selling around 600 eggs a week and paying roughly £200 a month in school fines because he kept missing lessons to run the business. Imagine being a teenager and choosing to pay fines just to keep your business going instead of sitting quietly in class. The school eventually had to sit down and negotiate with him. He agreed to stay for his exams. He chose drama, performing arts, and art. And then, the week after results day, he went straight back to farming. By his mid-teens, that egg operation had evolved into a contracting business. Not a hobby, not a weekend project, a registered operation doing agricultural work for other people's farms across Oxfordshire. The machinery know-how, the agronomic understanding, the day-to-day practical knowledge of how to keep a working farm running. He built all of that before a television camera ever pointed at him. So when Jeremy Clarkson arrived at Diddly Squat and needed someone who actually knew what they were doing, Kaleb was already working the land. He'd been there under the previous management. He didn't audition. He didn't turn up for a casting call. He didn't beg for a chance. He was simply already there, doing the work. That detail explains why he never got trapped inside the usual television talent model. Normally, the model works like this. A platform finds someone interesting. The platform builds that person into a familiar face over several series. Because the platform made them, it owns the relationship. When that person becomes expensive, the platform keeps the leverage, because without the platform, the talent is supposed to have nothing. Here, that dynamic never fully formed. If you want to know what someone's business is actually worth in Britain, you don't have to guess. You look up their filings. Kaleb Cooper's records show something most coverage skims over. Right now, he has 3 registered companies. Kaleb Cooper Productions Limited, based in Witney, Oxfordshire, is his media vehicle. Its most recent accounts show total equity of around £960 and profit for that filing period of about £666,000. That's roughly 2/3 of £1,000,000 of profit in a single period for someone who, 4 years earlier, was paying himself 50 pence an hour to drive a tractor around other people's fields. His farming operation, Kaleb Cooper Contracting Limited, adds another 3 2023s in net equity. His holding company, Kaleb Cooper Holdings Limited, contributes a further £46,000. Add those 3 together, and you get approximately 9,868 and 83. Just shy of 7 figures, doubled from the year before. If you've ever sat there wondering whether small, unglamorous businesses ever break out into serious money, those numbers are your answer. Now, here's where those figures really start to make sense, because they don't come just from Clarkson's farm fees. They come from what he built on top of that visibility while the show was still running. The first book arrived in October 2022, The World According to Kaleb, published by Quercus, a Sunday Times bestseller. Not a novelty gift for farming fans at Christmas, a genuine charting title, sitting on actual lists, selling enough copies that a second book was justified almost immediately. Then came Britain According to Kaleb in 2023. It's a farming thing, followed in 2024. And in September 2025, he released a children's book through Hachette Children's Group called Kaleb's Farm Tales. That's 4 books in 3 years, each one a Sunday Times bestseller, each one generating royalties in the typical 10–15% of cover price range on hardbacks, paid on copies sold once the advance has earned out, and continuing to arrive whether he steps in front of a camera again or not. Think about the shape of that income. He used the reach that Amazon gave him to build a publishing stream that does not rely on Amazon. Those book royalties keep coming in regardless of what any streaming platform decides to commission next. A publisher doesn't offer 4 consecutive contracts because someone is simply famous on TV. They do it because the first book sells enough to justify the second does enough to justify the third, and so on. Each successful title is a verdict from real readers spending real money, outside the control of streaming algorithms. To make those companies' house figures feel real, you need a rough mental model of how that might look. Take a typical Sunday Times best-selling hardback priced somewhere around £16 to £20. Author royalties on hardbacks often sit around 10 to 15% of the cover price, paid on copies sold after the advance has earned out. If each of his 4 books sold, conservatively, through 2 print runs of about 100,000 copies each, at roughly 15% of a hypothetical £18 cover price, you're looking in the region of £54,000 per title per print run in royalties. Multiply across 4 titles, across multiple runs, and you see how that compounds into a stream that keeps paying without him filming a single extra day of television. That's a big part of what the 9,800–860 equity figure in Kaleb Cooper Productions represents. Not one TV appearance, but multiple independent income layers stacked on top of each other, each one built on the last, none of them needing the original platform to keep going. And then there's the tour. The World According to Kaleb. Live on stage, across theater venues nationwide, sold out. The final night at the Everyman Theater in Cheltenham was filmed and turned into a standalone special on Amazon Prime Video. The order of events here is crucial. Amazon did not commission a Kaleb Cooper special and then send him out on tour to justify it. He built a sold-out tour first. He proved there was a paying audience willing to show up in theaters. Only then did Amazon license the filmed version of that final night. He didn't go to the platform saying, "I'd like to make a special, can you fund it?" He made the special in real life, showed that it worked, and then the platform paid to host it. That's leverage. That's building something that already exists, already has demand, and then letting the platform pay to sit on top of it. Now we get to the detail that feels almost like a punchline, but is also the single most revealing commercial moment in the whole story. Kaleb Cooper's first flight. He has spent 4 series working alongside Jeremy Clarkson, arguably one of the most traveled presenters Britain has produced. Clarkson has spent decades driving, flying, sailing, and crashing his way across countries all over the world. This is the man Kaleb is alongside on camera more than anyone else.